Hi, welcome to another episode of Cooking with Steve. Today we are going to be making crispy roast pork. And what we have here is we have a pork belly that we picked out at the butcher's. It's always important to always pick a piece that has the same thickness so that it will cook thoroughly. A nice combination of fat and pork is always a good choice. The pork belly is actually a very big piece, and if you are friends with your butcher, you could always get a nice center cut of the pork. And so that's what we have here. So one of the things that we do is we're going to marinate the pork and prep the skin. In order to prep the skin, what I have is I wouldn't call it a tool, but actually what this is, it's for flower arrangements, Japanese flower arrangements. Ikebana. And this is used to stick flowers in so they are standing up. What's nice about this is it has a lot of nice sharp edges on it. So we're going to use this to pierce the skin, and it won't go too deep. So that when we're roasting the pork, what is going to happen is the fat that's in the skin is going to heat up and it's going to explode. And when it explodes, it causes the skin to be nice and crispy, and that's what we're looking for. So the first thing that we have to do is we're going to use this, and we're going to come down and pound the top of the skin to pierce the skin. You do this for a few minutes until it's all pierced. Alternatively, if you don't have a tool like this, what I used to do was I used to use a bunch of paring knives, and I would just hold them like this and then just go give it a nice puncture. So no need to invest in anything. This works just as well, but I find that this goes a little bit faster. Okay, so the next step is we're going to take the pork belly, we're going to flip it over, and then we're just going to score it lightly. We don't have to go too deep, so this will allow our marinade to get into the pork. So the marinade is actually very simple. It is a bit of white pepper that we're going to put on here. It is going to be a little bit of salt, like that. And then we have a little bit of sugar that we're going to put on here. It doesn't have to be too even because we're going to rub it all together. And we have 5-spice powder. This you can get at any Chinese grocer, or any grocery store for that matter. It's available everywhere these days. And then we're going to put in a little bit of Shaoxing wine. Okay, so we put a lot of Shaoxing wine. Okay, here we go. Okay, then we're going to marinate this in here. And then we're going to take the pork and we're going to put it into our dish. And the next step is to take this and to put it in the refrigerator for 24, even up to 48 hours. And we leave it uncovered. So we want the skin to completely dry. Instead of using 5-spice powder and these Asian flavorings, you could always put mustard, salt and pepper, garlic, some thyme, some chili flakes, and that will be just as good. The preparation is all the same. You could just use a different marinade. Okay, so let's put that in the fridge, and we'll come back in 2 seconds because we have Hollywood magic. Okay, so here we go. This one has been sitting in the fridge for about 2 days now, and you can see clearly that the skin is nice and dry. It's almost hard to the touch. So that's what we want. In order to prep this for the oven, the next step is to put in a little bit of vinegar at the top and then cover it with coarse salt. Okay? So what I have here is rice vinegar. You can use regular white vinegar. You don't need rice vinegar, but I just so happen to have it. So we're just gonna put a few drops on top, and we're just gonna rub it on top like this so that it gives the salt can adhere to it as well. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some coarse salt And you see I've made this kind of like a tent so that all the salt doesn't go down to the cracks. And then we're just gonna put in the salt like this. And this is to protect the skin while it's baking. So this is gonna happen in 2 phases. The first phase is we're gonna bake this to an internal temperature of about 165. Actually, I have it set to 155. I just want to undercook it a little bit because after it reaches 155, what we're going to do is we're going to remove the salt crust and then we're going to put it in at a much higher temperature to crisp up the skin. Okay? So make sure it's thoroughly covered. The salt doesn't really penetrate the skin, so it's not going to be overly salty, as some of you are probably thinking. Okay, now it's ready. I will use my handy dandy meat probe. And we're gonna stick it right down the center like this. Okay, so off to the oven we go. So today I'll be using my Anova oven. I've done this in a regular oven or even a toaster oven. It all works fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to set the temperature to 375 and we're going to cook it to an internal temperature of 155. Okay, so now we wait. At this point, the roast pork has been in the oven until it reached an internal temperature of 155. What we're going to do next is we're going to remove the salt crust and then we're going to place the roast pork back into the oven to finish cooking under the broiler for about 10 minutes. I like to keep an eye on it to make sure that it crisps up properly and it's entirely uniform across the top. So you notice the skin now is ultra dry. Okay, so all the salt has been removed. It's time to put it back into the oven under the broiler. And in 10 minutes, we're gonna have some crispy roast pork to eat. All right, so now we've taken it out of the oven and we see that we have beautiful crispness on the top. You can scrape your knife and you can hear how crispy it is. You can see all the blistering on top from all the holes that we had punctured into the roast pork. Okay, so now let's serve it. A number of ways you could do this. We could just chop it up into little cubes and eat it with a little bit of hoisin sauce, or you can cut them into slices and put them into bowls and put in some hoisin and maybe green onion and make a little package out of it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a chunk like this. A little bit of crispness. And this is what it looks like on the inside. Nice and juicy. All right, so let's give this a taste. We'll dip it with a bit of hoisin sauce. The meat is juicy. The skin is crunchy. You can taste the flavors of the 5-spice powder. And that's all it takes to make crispy roast pork. Thanks for watching another episode of Cooking with Steve. We hope to see you again soon.